We have breaking news. A cargo plane just crashed in Louisville, Kentucky, and already mainstream media is trying to connect it to the government shutdown. Also, air traffic controllers have hit a record when it comes to calling out sick, leading to significant delays. And now we have more interviews from voters on election night. All these stories will show you what both sides are saying, but let's start with this plane crash. Take a listen.
Massive plume of black smoke and fire rising not far from the tarmac. This information is just coming in. Let's turn now to CNN's Pete Montine, who's in the newsroom. Pete, what do we know right now?
Well, the images are sad and they're sobering, Jake. We've just confirmed from the Federal Aviation Administration that UPS Flight 2976 crashed shortly after takeoff from the Louisville Airport, the Muhammad Ali International Airport. That is the main hub for UPS. It's known as Worldport. This plane, an MD-11F, that's a tri-jet, a wide-body airliner, 3 engines, not a small airplane. When they were in passenger service, though no airlines use them anymore, they could hold anywhere between 270 and up to 400 people. You can see the images that show exactly why the fire department in the area has put in place a shelter-in-place order near the Louisville airport. Initial reports said the shelter-in-place was for a 5-mile radius. Investigators really now have their work cut out for them because it does not seem like the images show any apparent parts of airplane.
Okay, so number one, here's the flight path for you guys to take a look at really briefly here. Again, it was not able to take off. We'll show you a clip right after this of it attempting to take off, caught fire before taking off, and then crashed. And so it really didn't even have a chance. And unfortunately, with that amount of fuel on board, as soon as it crashes, it's going up in flames every single time. Okay, watch this video of the plane attempting to take off.
Bro, get the fuck away from here, like turn around. Bro, no, hold on. I think it's gonna crash, bro. Holy shit. Holy shit. Holy shit. Damn, they're dead. They are dead, bro.
Now, I wanted to lead with this story because I'm going to give you guys a fair warning. This accident, it is fatal. It is tragic. Usually you don't hear of cargo planes crashing. I mean, it has happened throughout history, of course, but it's rare. Listen, you're going to see politicians jump on this really quickly because we have the government shutdown. Air traffic controllers are called out. They're going to try to figure out whether or not air traffic controllers were they there, were they called out sick, how many were there in staff. I mean, you know, they're going to do all of this, okay? And don't be surprised if this story turns into a political talking point from both sides, really. All right, so just a heads up. Now, one more clip to show you, and I think this is from another angle. Watch.
¡Oh, my God!
Ay, pinga.
¡Corre para atrás, papi! ¿Viste? Te lo estoy diciendo, Dios mío.
Ay, pinga.
¡Ay, Dios mío!
Pero qué pinga.
¡Ay!
Vamos a ver.
Papi, cuidado.
Espérate.
¡Ay, Dios mío, señor!
Pinga, ser.
¡Ay!
Pinga, cojones.
¡Mira la cantidad de gente cogiendo candela, papi!
No, pinga.
Okay, so there's another angle of what took place. Again, I say a prayer for obviously the families of these pilots. I'm sure someone loves them. They might be a mother or a father or something like that. We don't know their names at this point. We don't know if other people were killed in the process that were in warehouses or buildings that was right at the end of the runway. That still remains to be reported. But we're just giving you guys a heads up of what took place just now. And definitely send out your prayers to the family members of the victims. Okay, let's hear more of CNN reporting on this story. Take a listen.
It seems like the National Transportation Safety Board will launch to this investigation. The Federal Aviation Administration also investigating. This flight was bound for Honolulu. This is a large cargo airplane, not a small aircraft. As we are just getting in new details, this is developing all the time. It has been a tough year for aviation. Not only are there are the incidents right now with air traffic controller staffing shortages around the country. There was the mid-air collision over the Potomac River back in January. And now this. Friends I've been talking to, sources say this is so hard to see, and the images popping up online. So a very sobering struggle for this plane to get into the air right on takeoff from Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport. Very, very sad story developing right now.
Yeah, so as I told you, mainstream media is going to connect us to the government shutdown. Be ready for that. but this is definitely a tragic situation and more to come. Now, speaking of air traffic controllers and flights, that leads us to our next story. So as you guys know, there's been a significant amount of delays, especially if you're from Houston or Dallas, or you're flying into those areas. And I think we want to pay attention to this update that they just came out today and how bad it is continuing to get with the flight delays. Take a look.
Transportation Secretary warned that things are going to get much worse, and we now know from officials that 3.2 million people have been impacted by either delays or cancellations since the start of the shutdown on October 1st. But let's take you right now to our live misery map for people at home wanting to know what the delays are looking like right now. So over 900 delays as of this morning and 40 cancellations on Monday. Delays topped 4,000 by the end of the day. So similar to yesterday, we expect that number of delays to just getting higher as the day progresses. But more than 13,000 air traffic controllers have not been paid for more than 30 days, leading to a surge of call-outs from frustrated workers who have families to feed and bills to pay. On Friday, the FAA said nearly half of the 30 busiest U.S. airports face shortages of air traffic controllers, driving those massive delays. In a letter to congressional leaders, the U.S. Travel Association, along with nearly 500 companies, begged Congress to pass a clean CR bill to reopen the government, which Democrats have voted against 13 times. The letter said, quote, with Thanksgiving, the busiest travel period of the year, imminently approaching, the consequences of a continued shutdown will be immediate, deeply felt by millions of American travelers, and economically devastating to communities in every state.
It reminds me financially what's wrong with this country. You have to think about the interest rates at this point. You've got to think about how high inflation has become. And you also have to think about your financial future. You think they care about your financial future, your retirement plan? Absolutely not. All you need to do is look at the results. What is the price of gold right now versus the value of the dollar? That's why I encourage you guys to reach out to Lear Capital. It's exactly what I recommended my mother-in-law to do. She was worried about her money. She was worried about the cost of living. And she does live in California, by the way. And what she was going to do moving forward with her retirement. So she wanted to take matters into her own hands, and she wanted to speak to people that could be trusted. That is Lear Capital. You want the education on how to take your hard-earned cash and put it into precious metals investing. Lear Capital is the people to talk to. So the bottom line here for me is that with all this uncertainty, reach out to my friends at Lear Capital so they can show you how gold or silver can help you. And right now, as a special, they're offering $20,000 bonus in gold or silver on a qualified purchase. All you have to do is call them at 1-800-920-8388. That number again is 1-800-920-8388. Or you could go to the link in the description below at leardevory.com. Yeah, so there's been zero progress in regards to air traffic controllers. We already know Democrats ran to the courts. They got a judge to, I guess, try to force the administration to pay out SNAP benefits. But it's interesting they didn't run to the courts to try to get the administration to find money to pay air traffic controllers. I guess they get the short end of the stick, including federal employees in general. And this is a life or death situation because, as you guys know, if there are no air traffic controllers, the likelihood there will be a situation that is catastrophic goes up. I mean, that's just the reality. That's why they continue to delay these flights, because they're trying to make sure that it's safe. Now, here's what Sean Duffy had to say earlier today, because this is a clear warning, in my opinion. Take a listen.
The controllers got 90% of one payment, 80 to 90% of one payment. They missed the second paycheck. On Thursday, they get an email pay stub that'll show what their next payment is going to be. So this Thursday, they'll get an email that shows that their pay stub is a big fat zero. Many of the controllers said, a lot of us can navigate missing one paycheck. Not everybody, but a lot of us can. None of us can manage missing two paychecks. So if you bring us to a week from today, Democrats, you will see mass chaos, you will see mass flight delays, you'll see mass cancellations, and you may see us close certain parts of the airspace because we just cannot manage it because we don't have the air traffic controllers.
All right, so this goes back to what I was saying in regards to putting principles ahead of tribalism. If Democrats really wanted to stand on principle, which is taking care of the working class, they would open up the government. but their tribalism has got them into a position where they believe they have to fight against President Trump. And this is the only leverage they have at this point to do that. Now, we also went a little further and provided that information to you yesterday that really they're a slave to the insurance companies. Insurance companies want their money one way or another. They're either going to get it from the American people with higher insurance premiums, or they're hoping Congress will obviously agree on ACA subsidies. So you have those two dynamics happening at the same time. No wonder Democrats are refusing to budge. All right, let's actually hear more about where these delays are taking place the most. Take a listen.
Pete, what is the situation today?
Well, the delay numbers continue to climb today, Brianna. We're more than halfway through what we saw yesterday for the entire day. The delays for air traffic control staffing shortages keep popping up, and both of Houston's airports are now under FAA implemented delays. That's Houston Hobby and Houston George Bush. Also, Phoenix Sky Harbor on the delay list because there is not enough staff in the airport's control tower. There's also shortages in the tower at Denver International Airport. Also, the facility responsible for low altitude flights near Detroit. That facility, very rarely on the list, has been about 4 times since the shutdown began. Though the shortages in Denver and Detroit are apparently not deep enough yet to trigger mass delays, does seem that no place is safe from these shortages as air traffic controllers continue to report to work without pay, and naturally many of them calling out sick, though the Union of Controllers insists none of this is coordinated. This past weekend was the worst for air traffic control staffing shortages since the shutdown began.
So let's take a look at what just came in. This is literally, I think about 45 minutes ago. Democrats just voted against reopening the government for the 14th time. Meanwhile, air traffic controllers, TSA officers, and other federal workers continue to work without pay. It's just shameful. And here's the vote tally. You guys can see it for yourself, 54 to 44. So again, more of the same. Now, here is Caroline Leavitt, because she just had a press conference herself about all of this. Take a listen.
The administration is encouraging Democrats to reopen the federal government so this chaos and disruption to our air traffic control system in the United States of America stops. It is ridiculous that we have even gotten to this place and that the Democrats have continued to shut down the government with 35 days, our air traffic controllers continuing to work unpaid, every single major airline in our country coming out and begging the Democrats to please reopen the government. And you had a Democrat staffer who was quoted, I believe in Politico a few weeks back, saying, short of planes falling out of the sky, we are not going to reopen the government. That is a reckless and dangerous statement from someone who didn't want to put their name on that statement. But we know it came from the Democrat Party. And I think we're very clear. We want to reopen the government so we can resume travel in the safest and most efficient way possible, especially as we head into the busiest travel season of the month. We have Thanksgiving in a few weeks. And so Americans across the country need to make it very clear to their Democrat representatives that we want this government to be reopened so we can resume safe and efficient travel.
Now, just to make sure we back up what she just said, it was posted by CNN Politics. Another senior Democrat aide said, as long as public perception is in their favor, the party will not concede short of, quote, planes falling out of the sky. And it goes back to what I've been saying throughout this entire shutdown. And as more as we talk about politics every day on this show, it's as if Congress must feel pain. And if they don't feel pain, they have no urgency to fix these problems, unfortunately. So this actually is a great segue into what happened earlier today. Marjorie Taylor Greene made an appearance on The View. And there are a few clips I want to react to because I think there's some points that we really need to start debating in the town square, especially as it relates to the future of this country. Let's start with this first clip regarding whether or not President Trump is still her favorite president. Take a look.
I think both parties have failed.
Yeah.
Both parties have failed.
This is worse. Yeah. This is worse. Sorry. You know that. He's still your favorite president. He goes against everything you just said.
I like Donald Trump. I fought for him to win. I'm very thankful for the secure border. I'm friends with Laken Riley's mother. And we saw I serve on Homeland Security, over 12 million people came across our border, over 2 million gotaways. These are terrorists, cartels, all kinds of criminals. We don't know where they are in this country, and that affects all of us.
Let's understand exactly what she was saying. If you've been watching my live show, 1 p.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday, you already know where I'm going with this. And that is both sides of politics in Washington, D.C. have absolutely sold us out. They're slave to the insurance companies. They're slave to the pharmaceutical companies. They're slave to their donors. They're lobbyists, the special interest groups. They are controlled by the money. They're not controlled by us. That's why they don't really serve us. She sounds like someone who's been serving in Congress and has pretty much given up. And now she's going to do her own thing. That's what it sounds like to me. I've been following some of the things she's been putting on social media. It sounds like she's no longer going with Republicans on much of anything because she has probably become aware that it's not serving the American people. And I agree with her on that premise alone. All we have to do is look at the results. $38 trillion in debt. I think that tells you everything. Okay, let's go to this clip.
Well, I want to talk about MAGA voters who believed that the president made promises like lowering grocery prices on day one. Right now, grocery prices, inflation is up, soybean and cattle farmers are on the verge of bankruptcy. Millions have lost their food stamps and are about to lose their health care, while we're watching $40 billion to bail out Argentina. What is going on?
I don't know. I am so America first. I feel like I live it and breathe it. And that's my district, and that's what people want. They are so tired of their hard-earned tax dollars being sent overseas to foreign wars and foreign aid and foreign causes, while life in America just becomes more and more unaffordable. We want this money invested at home for our infrastructure, for programs, for our people, and most importantly, for my children's generation and their children and their children and generations to come.
Okay, let's just pause it right here. This is exactly my biggest frustration. You guys know I bring you guys the news every single day. The more I talk about it, the more research I do, the more I study it, the more I become disgusted at what's happened. That's why I'm a huge proponent of entrepreneurship, huge proponent of financial literacy. We have to take responsibility for our own lives. We cannot depend on these people in Washington, D.C. And no matter where you are in your life, whether you're older or younger, it is never too late to make better choices that can improve your situation financially, spiritually, all of these things. There's always another opportunity for us to do better. I think we got to stop looking at what's happening in Washington is in regards to making our choices. I think we got to focus on what are we trying to get out of this life. Now, obviously, we need to be aware, but I think you guys know what I mean by that. So I'm totally with her on the fact that we should be putting America first. And I think Congress and D.C. and the establishment, they've done a terrible job of doing that.
And I have to say, that's what I've campaigned on the entire time. Everybody's like, Marjorie Taylor Greene has changed. And I'm like, oh, no, nothing has changed about me. I am staying absolutely 100% true to the people that voted for me and true to my district. And I am so angry when I drive around my district to all these beautiful little rural small towns. And there's manufacturing plants that are crumbling from decades of lost industry. Small businesses that got shuttered during COVID lockdowns and COVID shutdowns. And you want to know something else, Whippy? So many veterans that went over and had to fight in some war that really had nothing to do with where they were from or their hometown, and their lives and families' lives have been so affected. So for me, I am unapologetically America first, and I'll do anything I can to work hard to save this country.
Maybe you should become a Democrat, Marjorie.
No, I'm not a Democrat. You want to know something? I'll say this. I think both parties have failed.
All right, so bottom line here to this appearance on The View from Marjorie Taylor Greene, it was non-confrontational. That's the first thing. Secondly, I think some of the points she made was definitely common sense driven. It's stuff we talk about every day on the show. American first is a real thing and should be the utmost priority from our elected leaders. Now, how we go about executing America First principles is clearly up for debate within the conservative movement. That's why there are a lot of people who don't support what she has to say. And then there's a lot of people who do, especially around the subject on Israel. And that seems to be the huge divide in the conservative movement right now. That is the sticking point right now. My only hope is that we rise above that and find common ground to keep this movement pushing forward. Because if we don't, and we fight each other all day long over Israel, we'll lose sight and get power over to Democrats again. Is that a risk we're willing to take? I think that's a question I want to get your guys' answers too in the comment section below. All right, so now we go to our next update, and we're talking about the elections, more interviews from voters who just casted their vote. Let's start with this guy, voted in New York. Listen to his explanation.
City resident, tell me why you decided to vote for Andrew Cuomo.
I decided to vote for Andrew Cuomo because he has a lot of experience. He's been the governor of New York, and I feel like we don't want our city to go in a direction that's not, important for businesses as well as our regular everyday New Yorkers.
Obviously, Mr. Cuomo is not the front runner, according to just about every poll that's out there. You look at Zohran Mamdani is the front runner. What do you think of him as a candidate? And none of the things that he was talking about appeal to you: affordable housing, making health care for children more affordable, free buses. None of that appealed to you and what you were looking for in a mayor?
Well, I don't think nothing is free. With a background in finance and economics and business, I know that it's important that you have to pay for things. Even if you're paying for it at a discounted rate, you need to be able to pay for it. I don't think nothing is given free. I think it's important that we all should be able to work. I think job creation is the key to all of it. We must create jobs. We must put our people back to work. New Yorkers need to work. And that's what I think Governor Cuomo will do for us. He'll help us to get our jobs back and help keep our businesses here in the city of New York.
Yeah, see, it goes back to the same principle we were just talking about. America first. Again, I don't understand why Congress sold jobs to China, because that's literally what happened. And they didn't think that would come back to backfire on the country. We were talking about it during the live show. STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, 3.75 million graduates from China. You know what it was for America? 920,000. They dwarf what we're doing. We have to demand more from our leaders. And so at least he has the right ideas. Now, obviously, I'm not a believer in Cuomo either, but we know Mamdani would be a disaster. No question. All right, let's go to this next voter, which actually voted for Mickey Sherrill over Jack Ciattarelli. Take a look.
Who are you voting for, and what is it that compelled you here just hours before the polls closed to be here?
We are voting for Mickey, baby.
Why?
I just believe in hope and change, and the world has been really dark lately, and I'm just looking for something different like a lot of us are, and I think that she brings hope and positivity where there has been none lately.
Adriana.
And I'm a teacher. I'm for education. I don't want to see any more cuts to what has already been cut. We're seeing with the students losing programs to everything they have is being cut. And that's thanks to who is currently in office. And we want to change that and stand up to our president with a solid New Jersey governor.
All right. So we know exactly what they're voting for. It's a vote against the president. It's interesting because it was a dark time under the Biden administration, especially in that last year. Again, American people have short-term memory. This is definitely true. I think the cuts to education literally has no impact in the same way that indoctrinating children have had an impact. Cutting off body parts have had an impact. Puberty blockers have had an impact. Boys playing in girls' sports had an impact. Trying to confuse children with their gender and their skin color and all this other nonsense, that's had a definite impact. Oh, by the way, we've been so focused on all those topics except the main thing, which is high test scores. You think American children, especially in education, score higher test scores than the kids in China? We got to wake up. We just have to wake up. But unfortunately, they don't see it that way. All right, let's go to this next voter out of Virginia. She's only voting for Abigail Spanberger because she's a female.
You're a Spanberger supporter. What about her agenda did you really like?
I'm really interested in seeing how we can improve women's rights. We need to get those back reinstated.
All right. Well, thanks for talking to us, Lauren. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, see, it's interesting. They're voting for Abigail Spanberger because they want to protect women's rights. But these are the same people that don't mind men playing in women's sports, which is a violation of women's rights and their privacy. Again, the math doesn't add up on the left. And here's another thing. What exact woman right is being violated at this point by the president? None. Okay. I think we can go all day with that. All right, let's go to this update from Fox News regarding the Virginia election. And that is about the Attorney General candidate, Jay Jones, who wanted to see his political opponent assassinated. I mean, this guy just might get elected. Can you believe that? Take a look.
If you look at some of the questions over the Jay Jones texts and that scandal from text back to 2022 and how this is affecting the Attorney General's race there, possibility of a split ticket, we asked voters what best describes their opinion of those leaked texts. Almost half found them to be disqualifying. About 1 in 4 said they were concerning, but then another 1 in 4 said they weren't concerned or they hadn't heard enough about it. So we'll see how they cast their vote when those numbers start to come in.
Well, I think the question is, why are they not aware of it? Well, I can tell you why they're not. It's because the mainstream media. They only talked about Jay Jones because they had no choice. But as soon as time went on, they stopped talking about it. And then Planter came up, the guy running for Senate with his Nazi tattoo. Then they had to talk about that, and then they stopped talking about that as well. I mean, we know their game at this point. This is why alternative media, like our show here, is very important, because we're showing you guys the full picture and both sides. All right, now speaking of Jay Jones, this is just, I don't understand what's wrong with this guy. So he was caught on a video this morning attempting to kick a dog. Watch this.
Make he rest. Make he rest. And may he wake up tonight when you get this win.
Goodbye, Red.
Say bye-bye.
See you soon.
All right, so maybe he intentionally seeked to kick the dog. Maybe he didn't. This guy has no business being the Attorney General. That is the bottom line there, okay? And some of these reactions we're getting from these voters, it continues to show you a lack of critical thinking skills, a lack of education and understanding of our political system. But, you know, it's not for me to tell people who to vote for, of course. We're just giving you guys the full picture. Okay, so let me kick it over to you guys. Put your thoughts and reactions in the comment section below. First, start off with UPS cargo plane crash in Louisville, Kentucky. Another tragic situation, of course. Terrible timing. Government shutdown. Mainstream media is probably going to start running talking points regarding that. What's your initial reaction to that? Secondly, a similar story, just the state of air traffic controllers in general. They said up to 80% called out sick over the weekend. Things are getting out of hand, of course. What's your reaction to that? And then finally, you saw what voters had to say and why they voted for who they voted for. Just give me all your thoughts and everything you got in the comment section below. Now, this takes us to our next video where the president made a huge announcement regarding SNAP benefits. First, he did say that they would pay them out. Now he's saying he's refusing to pay them out unless Democrats open the government. If you guys missed out on that update and more from earlier today, check out our live stream because it's coming up right now.